Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodríguez, is due to be sworn in an hour or so from now. But the uncertainty in the South American nation continues as President Trump has once again insisted that America is in charge of the country. Well, he made those latest comments on board Air Force One, saying that his administration would work with remaining members of the Maduro regime to clamp down on drug trafficking and overhaul the country's oil industry, rather than push for immediate elections to install a new government. Well, Mr. Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, have now been charged with weapon and drug offences, and they are set to appear at a court in New York later today. Well, Will Grant sent us this report from the Colombia-Venezuela border.
It was a weekend which will go down in Latin American history.
Happy New Year.
The Venezuelan leader, Nicolás Maduro, dishevelled and disorientated, snatched from his sleep and taken from power by a team of elite US soldiers, whisked from Venezuelan soil and taken to the US to face drug trafficking charges in New York. It came in the dead of an extraordinary night. The Americans, until this century close allies of Venezuela, then sworn enemies, launched airstrikes on military sites in the heart of Caracas. The next day, with the president gone and the smoke still rising, most Venezuelans struggled to comprehend what had just happened. For President Donald Trump, though, it was simple.
This was one of the most stunning, effective and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history.
And later, aboard Air Force One, President Trump warned that the US might not be finished yet.
We were prepared to do a second strike if we needed. We're totally prepared.
But that's off the table.
We're still prepared.
That's off the table now.
No, it's not. If they don't behave, we will do a second strike.
As far as he is concerned, America is effectively in charge of the oil-rich nation, saying it would run Venezuela until an acceptable interim administration could take over. For now, the former Vice President, Delcy Rodríguez, has been sworn in and has held her first cabinet meeting. In it, she invited the US to work with Venezuela, seemingly confirming Mr. Trump's assertion that she would comply with Washington. A day earlier, though, her comments had suggested otherwise.
If there's something that the Venezuelan people and this country have very clear, is that we will never again be slaves, is that we will never again be a colony of any empire of whatever kind.
Finally, always factored into any equation on Venezuela is oil. The stricken nation has the largest proven oil reserves in the world, a vital fact which affects almost all political considerations over the country's future, both by Washington and Caracas. Donald Trump says US companies will play a key role. Venezuela says that's why Maduro was removed from power. In truth, this situation is uniquely complex and volatile. So far, most Venezuelans feel that while everything has changed, so has it stayed the same.
With no more clarity on the next steps in Venezuela, the fear is there could be some kind of political vacuum in which neither a US-backed opposition nor the remnants of the Maduro regime are fully in power. And that raises the stakes considerably for the rest of the region. Will Grant, BBC News on the Venezuelan-Colombian border.
Well, as we've been saying, the acting president, Delcy Rodríguez, who served as Nicolás Maduro's vice president, is due to be sworn in the next hour or so. I've been speaking a little bit about her with our World Affairs correspondent, Joe Winwood.
She was, as you say, she was his deputy. She's a long-standing Maduro loyalist. She has now been given the backing by the army, and that's a really important point here. The security services are hugely important in Venezuela, and the fact that she has been given that backing means that she's going to be able to likely maintain control. She's viewed as something of a sort of a technocrat, as well as being an ideological bedfellow of Nicolás Maduro, and maybe that's one of the reasons that the Americans seem to think that they could work with her. She's a long-standing career diplomat, and I've heard people who have dealt with her describe her as highly intelligent, a highly capable person. And she does seem to be, for now at least, rather than any kind of opposition figure, she seems to be the person that the US are looking to work with. I
mean, that's interesting, because you say looking to work with, and then we just played those comments from President Trump on Air Force One, who was very defiant in saying, no, the US is very much in charge. There'll be people watching this saying, what does that mean then?
Yeah, that was one of the most jaw-dropping moments, I think, in that press conference on Saturday when he said, "We run Venezuela now." I mean, firstly, just the fact they're completely open about the fact they want to do that is extraordinary. But more to the point, I think, how are they suggesting they're going to do that? Because they're not putting boots on the ground. I mean, they've not ruled it out, but there isn't a force going in at this point. And I think what it seems they're going to be trying to do, my guess, is that this is a form of 21st century gunboat diplomacy. Maybe you call it aircraft carrier diplomacy. In the 19th and 20th, late 19th, early 20th centuries, the US and other nations as well, the UK, France, could basically park their gunboats, park their military vessels off someone's coast and say, if you don't like it, we can attack. Or you can do what we say. And that is basically what we're seeing here. We're seeing an overwhelming military force parked off the coast, used as kind of coercive power to make the Venezuelans do what America wants.
That's Joe in Wood there. Well, later today we are expecting to hear from the UK Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper, who is expected to lay out the UK government's response to developments in Venezuela. We have had a little bit from the Prime Minister already on that. Let's hear from our Chief Political Correspondent, Henry Zeffman.
I think what will be really interesting over the course of the day, and certainly after the Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper makes that statement, is to see if there is a divergence between what the government is saying and what many Labour MPs are saying. Because the government position at the weekend, and we heard this from Sir Keir Starmer, was quite a delicate balance. It was that they support international law in general, but they will not come to a view on whether this particular action is in accordance with international law, that they believe that Nicolás Maduro was an illegitimate president, that they shed no tears at his departure from office, and that they now want to do what they can as the UK government to assist in a transition to a stable democratic leadership of Venezuela. So they're trying to sort of juggle all those balls in the air simultaneously. Meanwhile, you have at the moment a handful of Labour MPs saying, well, actually, the government ought to just condemn what Donald Trump has done forcefully and publicly. I think the crucial question politically here in the UK is over the course of that of the day whether that handful increases to a more significant group of Labour MPs.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a handful, but I think one significant mention is probably the chair of the Commons Foreign Affairs Select Committee, Emily Thornberry, who said that the strikes, in her view, were not legal.
Yes, that's right. And she's also talked about how they appear to conform to what she called law of the jungle rather than international law, and she warned against a new situation of international anarchy. I mean, obviously that is a pretty forceful voice by dint of her position as chair of that cross-party committee, elected by MPs across the House of Commons, so not just within the Labour Party. And crucially, she generally comes from a similar part of the Labour Party to Sir Keir Starmer, whereas the other voices who've been critical of Keir Starmer within the Labour Party on this so far are from the left of the Labour Party and would have had different views of the Venezuelan regime in any case to those of Keir Starmer and to those of many people in the Labour Party. I mean, the other thing, by the way, that we'll see over the course of the day is where other political parties stand on this, because you've got the Liberal Democrats and the Greens using this as just the latest example of why they believe that Keir Starmer's approach to Donald Trump and his presidency is all wrong. Meanwhile, you have the Conservatives saying that actually, this is a senior member of the Shadow Cabinet saying strongmen everywhere have been doing what they want for some time. That's the era we're in. And then Nigel Farage of Reform UK saying that what Donald Trump has done is contrary to international law, but, he says, it may be a good thing.